Hey guys, and welcome to the Igloo today. Today we are going to see the new map location. Now it will be in a Reddit post down below if you guys want to see more of the detail exactly for what was seen for this. It was just a quick snapshot, as well as one of the new dungeon loading screens. Most likely, I'm going to assume that this is going to be coming from the volcano because of on how the scenery is, the depiction of it, and how it represents the old one that's in the south. So, here is one of the bigger things, which is deep breath. You can breathe, you can do all kind of things with this. You can have passive health regen for your vitality as soon as you hit level 30. So pretty much minimum that you need for vitality now will be 30 on top of it. But everything else is pretty much outlandish, especially the 60.1, which I don't see that many people getting. So most people are going to have around 30 to 40 for everything else. Now, when it comes to one of our bigger subjects, which is the mighty Gritmonger, you have 10% less stamina when you climb, or if you want to use iron muscles, you can get a natural resistance to damage, which is to level 30, which again is going to be one of our main standard points. Now, 40 grit could also do almost to no stamina regen for that kind of whatsoever for light attacks, which is very interesting. To this, for our agility, that's a whole nother ballgame. Now, you can take damage half if you get cat-like. Effortless leap, you can jump longer, and then you can double jump, like if you have 60. Yeah, that's cool and all, but like, why would you spend all the points unless you're respeccing to get into somebody's base to raid? I just don't see it. Now we have the points of accuracy. Accuracy is going to be buffed if you get to level 30, which is Iron Jury, and every shot will be a cripple. Now this could be negated for something called Encumbrance of 20, but it depends on how you build your character now that there's going to be a give and take to everything. Again, this is really nice. I don't really like the ricochet that they have at level 20, but I mean, level 30, it's going to be really nice. Now, strength. Strength at 30 can still go and do 10% more damage, but you have brutal at 25% more damage for each heavy attack. Now inflicts 25% more damage, which shows on how brutal it can be. But then you have light attacks that are 10% on top of it as an extracurricular bonus, which is going to be amazing. Now, with perk tree number 6, this is fucking crazy. That you can have your encumbrance, like I mentioned before. All cripples are negated, like for 20, but then grounded, you have 50% chance. But if you become a pack mule, ooh. You can increase your carry weight to almost infinite, and I think for survival, which is something completely crazy, you can have infinite running. I don't know if that was under for encumbrance or if that was under for here, but we can't see based on the scroll function that we weren't able to see everything, including for the live stream. So then we have for survival, which is showing for here. Vulnerability, no, it's not survival, but pretty much if you have the first tree, you can eat raw food and gain heals passively. Hard worker, you have the harvest list for other materials, just as like for farming hide and other things, which really helps in the main instance. Now, I'm going to be showing you just raw footage that we have of the live stream, so I hope you guys enjoy it.
There's
HUD changes, probably the first thing they can see.
We've also done a lot of other changes, and I need to just take care of this stuff, because this isn't working right.
Trivial stream things.
There we go.
Alright.
Just stream things. Alright, there we go.
HUD.
So, as you can see, we have a new HUD up in the upper left corner. So the top bar is our health, the bottom bar is our stamina, and then of course there's our water, our food, our encumbrance, and our temperature. And then of course there's the shelter buff, which we get because we are inside this lovely little combat arena that I've built.
For I think it's 2.5 seconds right now. We're still tweaking that, and we'll continue tweaking that.
You can move, but you can't.
Yeah, you can move, but you cannot perform any action that requires stamina.
Yes. Correct.
Like swinging your sword.
Yes.
and then it will quickly regenerate to full again. So it creates this kind of tempo of using your stamina, and then, well, if you let it run out, then you basically messed up, and then you have to wait a little, right?
Yep.
We have done changes to the way regeneration works. You do not regenerate naturally anymore.
Unless you have a particular perk.
Yes, so you can get a perk that allows you to get a small amount of regeneration. It is on vitality.
So yeah, sure, but every
Yeah.
iteration of 10.
Every iteration of 10 points. Yeah.
So for example, reaching the first level of strength gives me the thuggery perk, which gives me more concussive damage with a truncheon.
Yes.
If I go one more, I can do more damage to enemies that are affected by certain status effects, as you can see. Yeah. With agility, I can take less stamina when I sprint. I can do a double jump if I have the max thing here. With vitality, I can get the health regeneration if I have 30 points.
Which we don't have right now.
Yes.
We are just short of getting it, just shy of it. So
Because we want to show how it works.
obviously, not having default or basic health generation drastically affects the way you approach situations in the game.
Yes.
And this is one of the reasons why we do it, right? We want you to go around, the world needs to feel dangerous, and you need to basically assess an encounter before you just barge in. Because if you get hurt too much, then you're going to be basically put on your back foot. Then find ways to heal. And we have added multiple ways to heal. One of them is food. If you eat any piece of cooked food, you will heal.
Like
you get a
this.
regeneration buff, and the different types of food will give you more than
That was
others.
quick.
And we're still tweaking the amounts that you get from this. As you see, you get right now you get double buffs, and we're working on this. But that is true of every single piece of cooked, like processed food in the game. If you eat raw food, you will get indigestion or a chance to get food poisoning, right? So, but there is a perk that you can buy, which is that one on survival. The first perk there, that one makes it so you can just eat raw meat without getting food poisoning, which means you can heal with raw meat. You can mix and match, just mix and match the attacks. Just light, light, heavy, whatever. Just mix them however you want.
Those 2 lights, 2
There is
heavy,
no limitations
heavy,
whatsoever
light.
about which, like, an attack that changes into another or anything like that.
Yep.
The sword has 4 attacks in its combo. You can do whichever in any order,
Sweet.
right? Something that we have been working on as well is that you can now, if you want to sprint around with your sword, this now works. We basically, the reasons that we had for limiting your ability to sprint with weapons in your hands are now gone. They do not exist anymore. You cannot joust anymore because of the way the root motion works on the attacks.
Yep.
And there is already a very well-defined context for when you're in combat or not, as we will see with target locking. So there's no reason to limit people anymore with this. So we just removed it again.
Sweet.
So now you can run, if you want to equip your shield as well, just sprint around. This just works.
Yep.
That's it. There's no extra cost for having weapons, nothing. You can just sprint around.
As God intended.
Every weapon has their own sprint animations too.
Yes.
Yes, like 200 spears have a different sprint animation. 200 swords,
hammer
which are
has a
new
different-
also, they're in the game now.
200 swords, which people have been asking about.
Yeah, different sprint. Everything has a different sprint animation.
Yep.
So yeah, we didn't just kind of unplug what we had. It never works that way anyways. We also made sure that every weapon looked unique while using this.
And the sprinting while having it equipped is for tools as well. So you can run with fiber bindings, you can
Yeah.
run with your pickaxe, with your hatchets.
You can run.
All
You
that
can
stuff.
run with a truncheon and the rope bindings and hit NPCs and capture them and then drag them to your base while sprinting. It all works now.
Yeah. It should be mentioned, a lot of this stuff is still work in progress. There will
You can
be
cancel
tweaks.
your attacks with dodge if you want. And since now all these attacks have root motion and they have a lot of movement, so it doesn't feel restrictive, but it's a still root motion. So you would change your mind in the middle of a swing and you want to get out of a sticky situation, you just dodge. And dodge is kind of the universal tool to deal with nasty situations in combat.
Yes.
Dodge is pretty expensive stamina-wise, and you have to manage it, especially if you're using heavy armor. It's very expensive because heavy armor has a penalty on stamina, as it does now in the game.
Yes. As does encumbrance. If you're over encumbered,
Yes,
it's really important to notice how your stamina changes when you have high encumbrance, because it really affects how the game plays.
Yeah.
So you should, pay attention to that.
So something that's also very important about dodge is like if Nicole could try to attack you, like hit you a couple times with a sword, for example, you can dodge out of hit stun. Like get hit and just press dodge during the hit stun.
Boom.
It cancels absolutely everything. It will actually cancel even when you get knocked down, which is a new thing that we have as well.
Yep.
Even if you are on the floor, you can just dodge out of it.
Do a heavy sword combo, Nicole. All 4. Dodge.
Dodge.
I couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't do it.
Dodge out of the knockback, basically.
Yeah, it's all right. So that's the intention here,
There we go.
right? Dodge
Nice.
is basically the universal tool for dealing with bad situations.
Sweet.
Okay. There's something else that we have done that is new, which is we added target lock.
Yes.
So you want to just target lock on Nicole? There you go.
Now I'm basically
Please again ignore
moving.
the GUI on this.
Yeah.
So this affects
Also a thing in work in progress.
Yeah.
yes, this affects completely your movement behavior. It basically you're now doing circles around this character.
Yeah.
All your attacks will auto aim to the character, and which basically means you have auto aim, but you also lose the ability to kind of preemptively hit the position where the character is going to be, right?
Yeah.
So it's a balancing act, and that's basically it. Target lock also has a priority, so you pick the right target. It has like you can switch to different targets also if you want by using the mouse. In keyboard, the key binding for this is going to be Q, and on the gamepad you do it by just pressing the right thumbstick.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's target locking. It's also completely new. We still have work to do here on obviously the visuals of the bar and the reticle and everything around that, the HUD elements, but also on the camera behavior, which is a little bit too restrictive right now. So we're planning to do still more work on that.
I want to comment on something that was mentioned in chat. Nivius Next said that people have been dodging out of knockback since the game was released. And be that as it may, this stream is about the changes that we're
In front of
doing.
you guys in test live as soon as we can.
Yeah.
And then we will be the whole point behind that is to actually collect this kind of feedback that you guys are talking about.
Yes.
Right. And then we will act on that feedback. That's it. The thing with knockback also is that something that might not be apparent at glance, or when you're not the one actually controlling the game right now, is that all normal hits have actual hit stun now. Just go and hit Nicole with a sword. You cannot move while you're getting hit by a sword. You cannot. You need to actually dodge to get out of that.
Yeah.
Because if we didn't have hit stun on those attacks, then we wouldn't have combos. The whole concept of combo requires that the first attack you do allows you to land the second attack as well, right? That means you have hit stun now. So this whole system is completely brand new. It's very different to what we had, which was purely, hey, we want to show that you got hit.
Yeah.
That's also there, and it's very important, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Something that someone also pointed out is that since I can sort of use this to find players, basically. Like if someone's hiding in a bush, for example, I can just walk around and spam the target.
To some
button.
extent, because if there's some objects that actually will break line of sight.
Right.
Like walls, for example.
Yeah.
I believe those columns might also break line of sight.
They
Just
will.
try working behind the column.
Yep. There
You go. Right? So, well, it makes sense, right? Bushes will not, but these things will do.
And it's 20 meters max range.
Yeah, 20 meters is the acquisition range right now.
So it's not super far as well. It's not like you'll be able to pick people up 200 meters away, right?
Yeah.
And figure out where they are.
So if someone outruns you, then they break the target lock.
Yes, exactly.
So we've shown the sword stuff. Sword is basically a pretty straightforward kind of cleavy weapon, but the cleave angles are not very big. And then it has on the right clicks, it has this kind of dash forwards. It's almost like a skill shot because you need to aim to land this unless you have target lock, right? And then the last two hits have a cripple. And the last heavy has an actual knockdown, right? So that's the sword.
Yeah.
It's a pretty kind of, I would say, standard weapon is the go-to for a lot of people in this that we have done.
Yeah.
Then you have other one-handed weapons, like for example, you have the mace. Number 8.
I have the mace
You
on
switch
8.
to the mace. Just do the light chain on the mace. It is entirely different. It has completely different properties. The heavy it has a completely brand new mechanic, which is these purple trails. That mechanic will make it so when you hit a shield and the person is blocking, you do not get bounced back from the shield, right?
Let's try it. Heavy attack. Ah,
So we can demonstrate this a bit better, I think, later with the NPCs that we're going to be fighting, right? So the idea here is the mace is entirely different to the sword. You will use it in completely different situations. The mace attacks are slower than the sword ones, so that's a problem, right? But they have the property to you can just ignore the other person's shield.
Yep.
And the heavy finisher will actually hit through the shield. It does more than just ignoring the block confirm, right?
Yeah.
You actually hit through the shield. So if you're fighting someone that you know has a shield, you would want to use a one-handed mace.
sure.
Or not. Maybe you are skillful enough that you can hit them from behind all the time.
Yeah,
with
you
a
can
sword,
like
right?
dodge
That's up
around.
to you.
You can dodge around them, for example, and
Yes.
then hit them from the back, for example.
Yes. We also have one-handed axes, which are kind of like a hybrid between the sword and the one-handed mace. Right.
Switch this out.
And they also have different animations. So they're doing like light into heavy there, and they have like a jump at the heavy finisher, which the mace doesn't do.
And this
But it
also
also-
thunders. This also goes through weapons.
It goes. It
No,
will,
shields.
It will ignore the block confirmed from shields. Yes. Then we have a lot of changes on the two-handed weapons as well. Like if you switch to the spear, for example,
I can switch to the spear.
the spear has a completely brand new set of animations.
We will get to bows, by the way. A lot of people are
Yes.
asking about bows. We will get to them. We have a set
the
list.
daggers and talk about status effects if you want.
Okay.
Since daggers is the main way
Switch
to
to
apply,
the daggers.
apply one of them, which is bleed.
Bleeds.
So dagger, that's the light chain for the dagger. Those are heavy attacks, and
Boom.
those heavy attacks with the red trails, which is all of them except for the first one, apply a stack of bleed with each hit. And bleed does damage over time. I mean,
Nicole can do it to you,
Yeah.
yeah, yes,
Nicole,
you can do it to you.
heavy attacks. There we go.
and then you get the bleeding stacking
Yes.
up here.
So you will get. a
I've
stack
also
of-
got crippled.
Yeah, the finisher also cripples.
Right.
It's a dagger into your kidney that should cripple you.
Yeah.
And the light attacks have a lot of dash movement. They actually have a lot of like forwards momentum, and the heavies do not. But the heavies are basically the heavy hitters.
Right.
Dagger hits don't really do a ton of damage compared with other weapons. They're still okay.
Yeah.
The bleed stacks is what you're playing for with this.
Yes.
So your strategy with daggers is basically to go in, do a whole chain for bleeds, get out, and then do that again, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
to get out, when you're using dual daggers, your block button actually gives you a backflip, as you can. Woo! That's what you get when you use block with daggers.
Can I be
But it
interrupted
does-
if I do the backflip?
No, it does have hyper armor, which is a concept that we haven't talked about yet. But
Right.
you cannot be interrupted in the middle of the roll, but you can get hit and you will take damage.
Yeah.
Unlike dodge, where dodge actually has iframes,
Yeah.
and the length of the amount of iframes depends on the armor you're wearing.
Someone said we should add like an assassin's armor. I just want to, in case you missed it, we have that already. So basically, you can look like this.
Good muscle tone.
Oh yeah.
Well done, Yantek.
So that's bleed. Is what daggers are really all about.
And the bandit cam is rotating for.
Get in,
some reason.
apply bleed stacks, get out, and then continue doing that without letting the stacks drop, because bleed does exponentially more damage the more stacks you have.
Yeah.
Getting
this
5 stacks of
away.
bleed does much more damage than getting 4 stacks of bleed. you need to keep the pressure, right?
Yes.
But it will help slow down people that just run away all the time.
There is a perk as well that makes every shot you do cripple.
Yes. Every shot, regardless of where you hit. But
Yes.
yeah.
Here it is, attributes.
Accuracy.
And I showed them like 2 seconds of the new feats window.
Every shot.
Yeah, every shot with the bow will cripple your enemies.
Yes. So, all right. So we're talking about cripple. Let's talk about Sunder now.
Sunder.
The
Hammer.
two-handed hammer is the Sunder weapon. I think you.
Right.
There you go.
Here it is.
So two-handed hammers have a cleave on the lights. Just do the light chain.
Boom, boom.
The last light is a whirlwind attack that does knockdown.
But it leaves you open because it's a fairly slow.
It has a pretty long recovery.
Yeah.
All finishers do, but
Two-handers are.
and the knockdown on this weapon is pretty strong, and it's basically 360 knockdown around you, right? And then the cool thing about hammers is, or the coolest thing is, on the right clicks you get these
Knockups.
you get these kind of delays. You see how there's a longer delay after the swing?
Yeah,
That's because you are pressing the button slowly, right? So just do it as quickly as you can. That's as quickly as the heavies go for the hammer.
yeah.
Now do it as slowly as you can. So you can wait. Just way more. Yeah, don't be shy. Just way more. There you go.
Jesus.
You lure people in.
Yeah,
Yes.
essentially.
it's a bait.
It's a bait
Yes,
mechanic.
and all heavy attacks from the hammer have hyper armor, which means you cannot be interrupted during the attack.
Yeah.
So you can use this as a tool to either bait people, or tease them, or control a space, or punish them if they overextend, and basically create false openings,
Yeah.
frame traps, if you want to call it that way, to get people to attack you and put themselves in a bad position, because then you press the heavy button and you do an attack that will hit them. Your attack is not going to get interrupted, and these attacks also apply Sunder,
Yeah.
which is a status effect you don't want to have. Sunder stacks up to 5, and it makes your armor useless. Basically, it reduces the effectiveness of your armor. It is up to a 50% impact. It's basically a stackable armor penetration that you can apply to people.
Yeah.
So you don't want to get 5 stacks of Sunder, especially if you're using heavy armor as the way you approach combat. So getting hit by these heavy attacks is extremely punishing, right?
Yeah.
Which takes its time. You can still rotate throughout the whole time, and then it shoots, and it does a lot more damage, but it also costs more stamina. We are still working on the bow. We're still considering if we should support auto aiming or iron sight mode, or power actually holding the button down, or whatever. But this is what we have right now.
Quick shot.
Yeah, you can lock on enemies and it will auto aim the shooting, but the arrow flies in a straight line. It does not
Yes,
track.
so if they dodge,
So if she moves or rolls out of the way,
You can
then
dodge out of it, or you can just, if the enemy is really far, then you can also just kind of
does the call
bounce.
have the ricochet perk? 'Cause
Probably.
I see the arrows are bouncing off you, which is one of the new
I mean, if
perks.
she tries shooting on the floor, then we'll see.
Yeah.
If,
So she has the ricochet perk.
Uh,
That's one of the perks. You can show it in the attributes window you want. It's
it's
on
for,
accuracy.
accuracy, that's right.
Yeah, and it is trick shot.
I'm gonna
You can ricochet. Yeah.
let's do it. Boom, 20 trick shot. So whenever I fire,
If the
it'll
angle,
bounce off.
if the angle is right,
Yeah.
If it's too steep of an angle, it won't bounce. It will just stick to the surface.
But I can, for example,